through 5 weeks of filming, to our last night together at the Toronto Film Festival where we premiered this film a little more than a month ago. He was one of the most enthusiastic and talented directors that I have worked with. He was enormously proud of this film. I'd like to believe that he brought out the best in me, and I brought out the best in him. And while it may be ironic in some twist of fate, like the line that is repeated again and again from C.S. Eliot's The Four Quartets, in my beginning is my end. Even though he's no longer with us, George would want people to discover this film. And while we can't always look back, but must look forward, perhaps this film will do what George most hoped: entertain, provoke, and shed light on what happens when money and power and influence dampen the political process and damage the respect that all citizens should have for public service. Now, it is also important to George that people see the humor, what is inherently funny about outrageous behavior, and how we can learn, even through comedy, about the errors of our ways. So for him, tonight, don't be afraid to laugh. He would have wanted it that way, and George would also have wanted me to thank those who are with us tonight who knew him best, and to show our appreciation for their presence this evening. First, I want to say how grateful we all are for George's family, to have had the strength to come and share this night with all of you. George's mother, B.J. Wenger, is here, and George's brother, Frank Wenger, are here. Thank you for coming. If you would allow me to bring onto the stage George's collaborators who worked so tirelessly on this film. Hold your applause until I get through and up to the cast. Norman Snyder, screenwriter. Gary Howson, producer. George Zach, producer. Dana Bernetti, executive producer. Warren Minchuk, executive producer. Richard Brianda, executive producer. Donald Zuckerman, executive producer. Jonathan Dorfman and Temple Fennell, ATO Pictures, distributed. Come on up, guys. And now it is my pleasure to bring up here the company of actors that George gathered to make up this ensemble, all of whom George adored and was so grateful and so admiring of their work. The cast of Casino Jack: Barry Pepper, John Luck, Rachel Lefebvre, Spencer Garrett, and John David Whalen. I just want to leave you with this one last thing. There was a very strange moment in the AMC documentary that followed George around at this year's Toronto Film Festival when George was having his haircut. He suddenly started talking about death. And it turns out that George's greatest fear about dying was that death would be boring. Well, as you're all about to find out, the last thing George Hickenlooper was boring. This one's for you, George. We hope you enjoyed the movie. Thank you.